An investigation from the New York Times and the San Antonio Express News is raising some questions about how police officers are being used in Texas schools. After the deadly mass shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, school districts across Texas spent billions of dollars stationing officers on every campus, but these reporters found that in many cases, that presence may have led to force being used on students, often over minor behavior. Christian Hernandez from the New York Times is joining us now with more insight on this report and what they found. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So first, talk a little bit about why Texas is different when it comes to school policing, maybe than other parts of the country, and what about all this changed after Uvalde?
So Texas has actually, doubled down on the amount of police in schools since Uvalde. But even before then, it was already very different from other states. In Texas, there are almost 400 school district police departments. That means that these police departments fall under the superintendent of schools, and that is almost twice as many as the rest of the country combined. So Texas has, these ISDPDs that are standalone that fall under the superintendent. So they establish their own, use of force policies, for example, which is what we found here in this investigation.
So talk a little bit more about what you found. Our viewers are seeing some footage that's featured in the investigation that's pretty hard to watch.
So we found that, first of all, these use of force policies lacked a lot of guidance, and a lot of these districts weren't even reporting these incidents. But even though we went to all of the ISDPDs and asked them for their records, we got a fraction of those records requests back, and even in the small amount of records that we were able to get back from these districts, we found over 2,600 use of force incidents since 2022. And some of those incidents, as you could see in the video, were officers were using a level of force that if it were other police departments, might have gotten officers fired or had gotten them in some sort of disciplinary matter. But it looks like, because maybe of the lack of accountability set up by the legislature, there really isn't much to be able to do once even parents have complained to the state, and there isn't really any accountability measures that have come along with the increase in police in schools.
Talk about some of the incidents. Did any students get hurt? And we'll note for our audience, if they haven't read your investigation, it outlines some of the what was described as relatively small issues that started some of those incidents. So just give us a little bit more detail about what was going on in some of those incidents that you looked into.
Yeah, a lot of these incidents started with either teachers or administrators calling police over really mundane, a lot of mundane, things that you would expect teenagers and juveniles and kids to do in the school, which is talking back, or sometimes even cursing, maybe even violating the student code of conduct, fights, things that prior to officers being in schools were handled primarily by administrators. And yes, I mean, it's students who are acting in very predictable ways, and officers often escalating those situations to the level of force that you see in some of these videos. And to your prior question, yeah, there were a lot of students who were injured. We had students who ended up in the hospital in some cases after interactions with police in schools.
You all also talked to parents, teachers, principals who said, perhaps on the other hand, that the presence of officers is about keeping kids safe. So tell us about what you heard from those folks you interviewed, and then is there any evidence that that is working, that the presence of these officers is keeping kids safe?
That's a good question. And we wanted to know the answer to that same question. So we went back and asked them, like, how do you measure success? Are officers making schools safer? And that is often where we got those answers from teachers and from administrators and even from students themselves, saying they do feel safer that there are officers in their schools, armed officers in their schools, because of the possibility of a school shooting, which is something that I think everybody who works and who goes to school today, is it's the reality. It's something that's in their mind, every day. So I think that, because they couldn't really answer how they measured that success, or it's still anecdotal. I think, with us, prior to this investigation, use of force in schools was also very anecdotal. There were very few investigations or numbers into how many incidents there were, especially statewide. So I believe that, if there was a way to track it, they would have told us, but it seems like, there isn't a way to track the opposite of this, which would be if there are, if this is working, if there are places where, in fact, the presence of officers has made the school safer.
I want to sit there a little bit with the topic of tracking data. You mentioned earlier on about how difficult it was to get some of this data into these incidents, that there's not necessarily just a database for you all to get. You were going district by district. Talk a little bit more about some of the data pitfalls and why is that important? Why should people at home have questions about some of the data difficulties you all faced?
Yeah, I think that was the most surprising thing. And working with students and with parents and with their families often to try to get even some of these records where their son or their daughter had an interaction with an officer in the school where they might have been injured, or where there were questions about how much force was used. And often these parents had a lot of trouble even getting, themselves, access to these records. So the biggest hurdle for us was the protection of juvenile privacy protection laws, and often these records are so hard to get, and it is so hard to report on this subject because of those laws. And we had to go district by district because that's the only place where these records live currently. So there were often times where these districts would hire attorneys and ask the attorney general for an opinion to try to keep these records secret, and they won in many cases. And the attorney general would rule on their favor so that we didn't have access even to redacted records about use of force. But we were also able to get a hold of more than 400 reports, detailed reports that gave us a first of its kind glimpse into what's happening and the type of force that's being used on students. But yes, prior to this investigation, those numbers and these records, they were not public.
Absolutely, and as you said, still a very detailed look at these incidents in schools across Texas. We know that's an issue our own investigative team here at KXAN has encountered. But Christian Hernandez from the New York Times, wonderful reporting. We appreciate you joining us for a little bit more of an in-depth look behind what went into this. We encourage everyone to go and read that investigation right now on the New York Times. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.